Alright, what's good everyone? Welcome back to another video. In this video, I want to talk about the iPhone versus Android debate. So let's get into it. Alright, so basically how I feel about this debate and this topic that's been going on for years is that I feel it doesn't make sense. When a lot of iPhone users are debating against Android phones, one thing that really doesn't make sense to me is like when people say, oh, iPhone's better than Android, it's like, okay, which Android phone is iPhone better than? There's so many different Android phones that you can't just group them into one thing because they're all different. And this is what I don't think a lot of iPhone users realize, because yes, you have iPhones and they are iPhones, they kind of all act the same, which is also something that I'm going to talk about. But when it comes to Android phones are very different. Like, are you talking about this from 7 years ago, 8, 10 years ago? Or are you talking about this, the most recent Galaxy Z Fold 6? Or are you talking about this Nothing Phone 2A? Or are you talking about this 5, 6-year-old LG V60 dual screen? Or what? When you're talking about Android versus iPhone, which Android phone are you talking about? Because trust me, fam, all three of these brands have made Android phones, and all three of their phones are completely different. Yeah, like on a basic level, there are phones and they do the same things kind of, but they are very, very, very different in terms of software experience and just everything. So in my opinion, the debate doesn't make sense when people generalize these phones because they're all completely different, all different in so many different ways. The other thing that doesn't make sense to me is like when people are making this debate, fighting against each other and stuff like that, a lot of times they don't know what they're talking about, what they're fighting about or for. Like, for example, you're saying that iPhone is better than Android, okay? What makes it better? Slower charging speeds. Up until last year, you guys didn't have USB-C. You were stuck on Lightning for a long time. The software has generally been the same experience since, like, honestly, even the fours. Like, the software hasn't really changed that much. If you go back and use those phones, like, yes, the software definitely got some updates and stuff like that. It looks better, feels better, it's smoother and whatever, slightly more features. But in general, the software hasn't really changed that much. Whereas when you go back to like a S5, S4, completely different phones. Like, software is so much smoother, so much better. And yes, I do think iPhone started in a better place than the Galaxy devices. But even back then, Samsung was pushing the envelope and adding new features and, different things, changing what it means to use a phone. Like, remember when iPhones finally got multitasking, which is basically just switching between different apps, having them open in the background. People are going crazy. But Androids got multitasking, real multitasking a long time ago, split screen and stuff like that. So when you're arguing one is better than the other, what are you necessarily talking about? All right, another thing that I don't understand about the iPhone versus Android debate is just people will dismiss certain features and call them gimmicks, or like say who needs this, who needs that, and it literally doesn't make sense to me, because I know if Tim Cook put split screen on your iPhone, you're going to use that, you're going to say it's the best feature ever, and you're going to go crazy. So when certain iPhone fans, look at certain features and be like, oh, like why would you want that on the iPhone anyways? Just buy an iPad. It really boggles my mind, because it's like, bro, are you like for real, people have been calling iPhone users for sheep for years, but like, are you actually a sheep, bro? Like, what do you mean, why would you want that on your phone? This phone right here, this is 1 TB 15 Pro Max. This is like $2,300 in Canada. You're paying this much money, of course you want all the features on your phone. Why would you not want all the features on your phone? Like, I don't get it. Also, the logic too of like a lot of iPhone users is like, mans think if they add features, then it's gonna take away from other features, or it's gonna make the phone stop working and stuff like that. And it's like, that's not how it works, bro. If they add multitasking and you don't want to use that, you don't have to use that. It's not gonna do anything to you, It's not gonna do anything to the general experience of the phone. So like when iPhone users are like, oh, like I rather just keep it clean, blah blah blah. Okay, fam, you can keep your phone clean. Like, this is my Z Fold 6 customized, but I can keep it clean and stock, not do anything to the phone, and it will be as it was on day one. But I still have access to those features if I want to use them. When people say all these things about like, why would you want that feature? It's gonna do this and that. It's like, bro, just take 2 seconds to think about what you're saying, and realize that like you should be asking Apple to give you all the features, even if you're not gonna use them all the time. You should want them to push these phones to the limit, because you're paying thousands of dollars, especially in Canada. You're paying thousands of dollars for these phones. Why wouldn't you want all that you can get from them? It doesn't make sense to me, even if you don't use certain features. But anyways, let's go to specifically multitasking. All right, a lot of people don't seem to understand the value of multitasking on a smartphone. They think like, oh, the screen's so small, why would you do this anyways? Have you ever, went to a website and you're trying to log in and you needed a password, but you don't have the password in your mind, so you got to go to your password saving app? With split screen, I can open my password saving app, I can open my notes, and I can copy and paste my password onto, the website or whatever I'm trying to log into, all without leaving the app. And as you saw right here, literally takes 2 seconds. 2-finger swipe, I can choose any app on my phone to enter into split screen, and I can do that very quickly. On an iPhone users have conditioned themselves to get used to this. You go to a website, you gotta find your password. Now you gotta go find your app. I guess you're gonna search, whatever app you're gonna use. Let's just say Notes. Then the password is here. You highlight the password, copy the password. Then you're going to go back to the app and you got to paste the password. On most Android phones, but specifically on Samsung Android phones, split screen, multitasking, floating windows, all that stuff is very easy to do. Like, for example, I can just go like this and open up my password thing and find it. Now that's in the floating window, I can minimize it, and then I can go and paste the password. Very simple and easy workflow. Or instead of minimizing it, I can toss it off to the side and it will just be there, Then when I need it, I can come back to it, get the password, and go back to what I'm doing with the full screen. So that's just one example. Another example is like, let's say, I don't know how much you do with your phone, but personally, I do a lot with my phone because these phones are capable. And I'm gonna get into the argument of like, oh, why would you use a phone for all these things? I'm gonna get into that. But let's say I am, trying to do finances. I'm working on my finances, I gotta budget things, whatever, figure out how we're gonna do certain things. This is the calculator app, right? With the calculator app, I can go like this, turn it into a floating window. So a floating window is an app that is opened in a window that is resizable, and I can manipulate it to make it any size that I want, and I can toss it off to the side like I showed you. So now I have that open. What I can do is I can go to my banking app. I'm not gonna actually do that. I'll just open another app instead in its place. So banking app. Okay, so now I'm in the banking app. What I can do is 2 fingers swipe from the bottom again and open up, let's say, Notes. So now I have banking app at the top, Notes at the bottom, so I can write down things. Then I got my calculator in the floating window. And the thing is, too, people always say this small screen on the Z Fold 6 is unusable, but whatever. I can do all this, have it set up in like 2 seconds, very fast, very easily, and all with one hand as well. Although if you use 2 hands, you could definitely do it faster. But so now I have my banking app at the top, Notes app at the bottom, and the calculator in floating window. So what I can do is I can go through, let's say my bank statement, and I can see all the purchases that I've made, and I can add them up. So let's say I bought like a burger and fries for like $10, plus I bought, let's say, some groceries for like $50, and then I also spent maybe like $5 on a donut and an ice cap at Tim Hortons. So $65. Now what I can do is put this back to the side, and I can put like 65 total spent. Boom. Look at how easy and quick that is to do. And this is just one example. Like, I'm just showing you the basics of like what you can use split screen and multitasking, floating windows and all that stuff, what you can use it for on your phone. People think like, oh, it's a phone, why would you do this? But like, this is just so quick and easy. So why wouldn't you want that? Now, let's do the same thing on the iPhone. So this is a calculator app, but I'm going to have to go to my banking app, but I'm going to open Notes instead to pretend that's the banking app. I got my banking app. Now I got to go and find my Notes app. So let's just use Notion as the Notes app. So on the iPhone, if you're trying to do the same kind of workflow, banking app to Notes app to calculator, what you got to do is this. You got to swipe back, go to the banking app, look at it, and then you got to go to the calculator, put the information in, and you got to use your memory. So if you remember all the numbers, then you can do it all at once. But if you're like me and you forget the numbers real quick, then you're going to have to go like, oh, how much was that? Like $20 plus 30, and then I think it was 5, but I'm not sure, so I got to go back and check. So now I got to go back to the banking app, and then it's like, oh, okay, it was actually 10, so I'm going to add another 5. And boom, so now I got 60. So now I gotta go back to my Notes app right here, so then I could type it in, and then if I want to do something more using all 3 of these apps, I gotta go 1, 2, back to the banking app, then I gotta go, put whatever information in the calculator, then I gotta go back to Notes to write it down. And you see what I'm saying? Like, you literally gotta keep swiping back and forth between apps if you want to do any sort of like, multitasking, or like any sort of using 2 apps at the same time. And this is our rates, it worked, but like, why do all that when you can literally just have everything on the screen, get it done in like 2 seconds? And like, what people don't understand is like, it takes like 0 seconds to open up 2 apps on a Samsung phone. So I could be doing whatever, banking banking app, boom, now I can open up any app on my phone. Or if I want to open any app on my phone and split in floating window, all I do is just swipe that to the edge panel, grab that, open it up in floating window, and it's super easy. So yeah, accessing multitasking on Samsung phones is just super fast and easy. Like, I don't understand why somebody wouldn't want to have access to that. Even if they're not going to use it every single day, why wouldn't you want to have access? So that's another scenario of why multitasking just makes sense on these phones. And I guess the main topic of this video is like, I don't understand the debate and I don't understand people's arguments, is that people will say, oh, iPhones are so powerful, bro. You see the benchmarks, this and that. That's why Apple's making the best chips, you know, the A17, blah, 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 the M chips, the M series. They are super powerful, bro. But what can you do with this phone? What can you do with this phone? Like, yeah, I can go and play a game, but that's it. I can go and edit videos, but that's it. You know, the software is so limited. It's just like, it doesn't make sense to tell me about power and this and that. Like, those things are nice. Don't get me wrong. That's why I have an iPhone, so that I can, you know, video edit on it. I don't game on my iPhone. Like, all the games I play work on my Android devices just fine. And the GPUs on the newer Android chips are actually more powerful than the iPhone chips. However, the iPhones are more optimized. But I don't game on the iPhone, but you do use it for video editing. So I understand the power is definitely great. There's something great there. But the software, bro, like, just down to the small things. Like, if I want to move something on my home screen, you know, widgets, you can kind of move them anywhere. If I want to move an app, you know, let's say have an app down here, I can't do that. Like, there's no option to turn it off. I think it's coming in the next iOS update, but like, look how long it took to get there, bro. Look how long it took to get widgets. And then on top of that, look how long it took to get kind of semi-interactive widgets. Like, on Android, the widgets on Android, you can interact with them, bro. Like, you can scroll through the widget, you can complete the tasks from the widget itself, you can add new reminders. Like, there's so many different things you can do with widgets on Android phones. You can customize how they look, you know, resize them dynamically whenever you want. So like, let's say right here, I want to make this widget. This is a widget stack too. It's not just one widget. So I can make it big or small, move them anywhere. Like, the freedom is there. You know, the freedom is there. I can have custom folders. I can create app folders on my home screen, obviously, like iPhones, but then I can customize the color of the app folders, like make it transparent. I can have, you know, up to 5 apps in my dock right here, whereas you can only have 4 in the iPhone. And like, just the small things like that, bro. Like, another small thing that doesn't make sense to me, this is kind of outside of the point of what I was making, but another small thing that kind of bothers me when I go back and forth between these phones or these devices is this. All right, so let's say I'm in the gallery app or the photos app on the iPhone. This is so annoying, bro. I really don't understand why iPhones function like this. So if you tap and hold, you're gonna get this menu right here, and that's all right. You know, sometimes that menu is useful and cool. It's like mimicking the 3D touch from, you know, the iPhone 10 days. But bro, I'm so used to just doing this on Android. I tap and hold, now I can start selecting stuff. Like, you see how fast it is to select multiple things? On iPhone, tap and hold, it's like, now I got a whole menu. And on top of that, one annoying thing is like, you tap and hold and there's no select option in this menu. Like, why can't I just choose to select by tapping and holding? I don't understand. And then you gotta go up here, turn on select, and then you can start selecting like that. Like, I genuinely don't get it. You know, tap and hold and boom. And like, all Android phones do something like this. Like, they have a similar functionality. But on iPhone, tapping and holding means open up a menu. It's just so strange, bro. Like, let's go to the Files app. This is something I use a lot. I use my phones for so many different things, so I'm always moving files back and forth. So this is something that, you know, has bothered me as well. So let's just go to a random place. In the Files app, you would think it would be similar to, just because it makes sense for like moving files on a mobile device that is touchscreen. But in the Files app, tap and hold, like, bro, a whole menu of all this stuff. And these things are useful options for sure. But I'm just trying to move the thing, bro. Now you can go into move, but then it's only going to move this one item, you know, this one file. And then to cancel it, holy, that's another thing. I'm going to get into that just now. But yeah, so that's how moving is in the Files app. On most Android phones, tap and hold, bomb, 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 bomb. I can start selecting just by tapping and hold, and it's so quick. People don't, like, this is what I'm trying to say. iPhone's supposed to be, you know, quick and easy and convenient and this and that, but there's certain things that just don't make sense, bro. There's certain things that are inconvenient on iPhones, and you might be like, oh, you're just not used to it. Yeah, I'm not used to it, but like, tell me this makes sense. I have to go all the way up here to, you know, select, or I have to do one hand mode to select the thing at the top to select multiple photos. Why can't I just tap and hold and start selecting. And on top of that, why isn't the option there and in general in the menu that pops up? You know what I'm saying? So there's that moving files and stuff, selecting things. Generally on iPhones, you can't just start selecting multiple things. And then this is another one that, kind of takes me out every time I use the iPhone because it just doesn't make sense. So on my Android phone, usually on most Android phones, you can double tap the power button to open up the camera very quickly. But on iPhone, now you can use the action button, which is cool, I guess. But even the action button is like, bro, why can't I double tap to do different things? Why does the action button only do one thing? Like, for example, on my Samsung phone, my power button, if I press and hold, it takes a screenshot. If I double tap, it opens up the camera app. And I can set so many more functions on the Samsung device for just one button that has already been there. Apple added a whole new button and there's bare limitations. It barely does anything aside from like one thing that you set it to. But getting back on track, on topic of iPhones, supposed to be smooth and easy to use and this and that. Here's another thing that doesn't make sense to me. A lot of times on iPhones, you gotta take like 2 or 3 extra steps to get something done versus on Android where you can just literally get it done in an instant. So for example, in the camera app, right? If you're somebody who messes around with your phone camera, you like to change settings, you like to, figure out the best options and stuff like that. So you might turn on RAW Max, you might turn on ProRes, this and that, all these different things. This iPhone out the box, it came with 1080p turned on by default. I'm pretty sure all the FPS options weren't there or whatever. I had to go into settings basically to turn things on so that I can have all these options in the camera app itself. As you can see in the camera app, there's no place to go into the camera settings. So you're literally just here in the camera app. In order to change settings or to turn on certain features, you gotta go like this, go to the settings app. And then this is another thing that takes me out on iPhones. The settings app is just organized in a way that kind of doesn't make sense to me. But now I gotta go find the camera app. It's not in alphabetical order. It's in this specific little place right here. And then I can adjust the settings. All that work. And you might think like I'm being annoying or whatever over such small details, such a small thing that doesn't impact your life. But when you think about like your daily life, because we use smartphones every single day, right? We use it for so many small things. All these small little things, these small little actions add up to a great amount of time over time, you see. So every single time I gotta leave the camera app and go to settings to figure out, what features I need to turn on and stuff like that, what I need to adjust. That is time that is taken away from me, potentially getting a shot that I might want to get while I'm traveling or something like that. And now on an Android device, your camera settings is always accessible from the camera app itself. So as you can see right here, I got the wheel, boom. Now I'm in camera settings and I can adjust that real quick, very easily. And then because I have universal back gestures, I can just swipe like this and now I'm back in the camera app. On the iPhone, I gotta go like this, or I can do the swipe at the bottom. At that point, it becomes a little bit faster, but just again, like finding the camera settings, why do I have to leave the app itself, That is annoying. And then the back gesture, like it doesn't make sense to me, man, bro. Like just develop a universal back gesture. So on Android, I can, go into a bunch of different things and then I can swipe from the side to go back. On iPhone, you can't swipe from the right side. You can only swipe from the left side. And it's if an app supports that functionality. A lot of apps, you'll find that they don't actually support this left swipe thingy. And it's not even like a thing to support. I'm pretty sure the apps have to kind of code it themselves. It's not something that the iPhone is just doing. You can't just like back swipe on anything. Like for example, I'm on a different page. I can't back swipe to where I was before on iPhone. If I go to like this. So right now I initiated moving this file somewhere on the phone. So I'm looking through different folders to see where I want to move this file. I can't back swipe out of that. Like I guess I can tap an empty space to end it. I guess I can tap an empty space to end that mode, or maybe swipe down. I can swipe down to end that. But personally, I didn't even know you can do that. I guess you just gotta explore. But like literally, if it was just Android, just back swipe and you're good. You see what I'm saying? So let's say I entered this mode right here where I'm editing the home screen. I know you can just tap to end it, but like on Android, like literally anything you do, you can back swipe out of that and it goes back to where you were last. So yeah, that's just another thing. So anyways, when people make the debate, it's like, first come with some, facts and then come with some sense, if you know what I mean. I'm not trying to fight people, but yeah, a lot of people also say that apps are more optimized on iPhone, which is generally the case when it comes to like games and stuff like that. And LumaFusion video editing app is more optimized on iPhone, but like for the most part, everyday apps are pretty much the same on iPhone and Android. Like yeah, probably have a better time with the camera in Instagram and stuff like that for sure. But like at the end of the day, like these apps function mostly the same. And it's even on Instagram, one feature that iPhones haven't gotten till this day is being able to look at tap and hold, and I can select multiple images, but being able to create like a little layout with your images in Instagram stories. iPhones still can't do that. If you select multiple images, if you select See, I can't even tap and hold and select multiple images. It gives me the option to delete or favorite, which is strange. But you tap select, now I got multiple images, and I cannot create, one layout or one collage of all of them. I have to go through each individual photo and create each individual story for all of them. So that's just another example of like, okay, Instagram is supposed to be more optimized for iPhone, but it lacks a feature, so it doesn't make sense to me. But don't get me wrong, there are some apps that are more optimized for iPhone, but at the end of the day, the difference is not as big as people make it seem. But yeah, like even just switching apps on my Samsung device, I have it set so it's like this view, and I can see all my apps. I can quickly go through them and select them. I can close all my apps. I can search for all my apps, and I also have like some recommended apps that show up in the app switcher menu. Whereas iPhone, you literally gotta go and find the app that was open before, and then from here I can, drag and drop into float window, into split screen. You can just do so many different things on Android devices. But I'm talking a lot, so I need to close this video. But the last thing I'll bring up that doesn't make sense to me is this: iPhones, have been known for the cameras. People always say iPhone cameras are this and that, especially here in North America. People love their iPhone cameras, especially the pros. But bro, all this hardware, all this, praise, I don't have manual controls, bro. I can't manually control the settings of the camera. Like, yeah, you can do this, tap and hold to lock the focus or adjust the exposure with the sun. But bro, why can't I control the shutter speed? Why can't I control the ISO? Why can't I control, the white balance? Like, why is there such a lack of controls on these iPhone devices, especially Pro iPhone? You're calling this a Pro device, and I can't even control the camera settings, especially with video. Because photos are alright, I don't really mind having auto mode for photos. But for video, I feel like the iPhone loves to like smoothen things out and like give it like a glowy effect and stuff like that, or brighten things up. And so I like to turn it down. I do like this exposure control where you can slightly underexpose before you even take the image or the video. That's nice. But like, let me control the FPS, bro. I don't want auto FPS. I don't want it constantly changing throughout the video. I want the FPS to be, stable. I want the ISO to be stable, and let me deal with that. Like, you don't always want everything to be exposed or brightened up in the image. Like, what you naturally see in real life is like the brighter parts are gonna be bright, the darker parts are gonna be darker. That's just how it is. So I don't want everything to be brightened up, and have this HDR look and stuff like that. So why can't I, on my iPhone, my Pro iPhone, control the camera settings? Like, I go to Pro camera on my Galaxy device, and I can control the shutter speed, the ISO. I can control the focus, manual focus, which is really sick. I can control the white balance, and I can control, different mic settings. So I can choose to record Omni, where it's all around the phone, choose to record in front of the phone or behind the phone, like for the mics. I can toggle between the Bluetooth mic or the USB mic. I can obviously adjust, the resolution, the frame rate. I can adjust the aspect ratio. I can show a histogram, which is really sick to, see if peaking the highlights or the lowlights. I can see my my volume gauge, so I can get an idea of like what volume is looking like, if it's spiking or not. And then on top of all that, bro, like I said, I can go into my settings app and adjust any settings that I might need to adjust. Like, for example, you might not always want to have the stabilization on, because stabilization, when it's software enhanced, can crop into the video. So you might want to have the full video, full quality, without the artificial stabilization. So you can use the video more in depth. So you can go into settings real quick and just turn that off, and then go back to the camera app very quickly and continue doing what you're doing. So why can't you do that on the iPhone, And again, somebody can say, oh, it's not for everybody, simple phone, whatever. I agree. iPhones are great simple phones, and I recommend these phones for anybody who does not care about all the extra stuff, who just wants a phone to work. However, when you're calling a phone a Pro phone and it's approaching like crazy prices, expensive prices, why doesn't it have all the little features? And then outside of that conversation, just certain things about iOS that are just inconvenient and don't make sense, like, why is it like that? And why are people just accepting it and saying like, oh, whatever? And the other argument about, oh, just buy an iPad if you want to multitask, it's like, bro, are you working for Apple, bro? You're telling people to go and spend their money on another device when they want to be able to do something on the expensive device they already bought. Like, are you an Apple employee, fam? Like, what you really telling mans to go and spend more money on an expensive device that they weren't planning to anyways? Like, I genuinely don't understand that. Why can't I split screen on my phone, bro? I have to go and buy $1,000 iPad to do that? Like, I don't know if people hear themselves when they say this kind of stuff. So anyways, I talked a lot, but iPhone versus Android debate doesn't make sense, because which Android phone are you talking about? And then also, are you taking in all the little subtle things? Personally, I believe that iPhones are great. I believe that Samsung devices are great. Not every Android phone is great. I think Samsung devices are great and offer a lot of features. They're smooth, animations are clean, they are in a really good good place, and I think are in a lot of ways comparable to iPhones, but even better than iPhones in certain ways because of the features that they have. But iPhone is definitely better in other ways because of the, power, the efficiency, the battery life, the optimization for certain apps, and the fact that like iPhones just generally last longer in terms of like how good they stay. Right now, I can tell someone to go and buy an iPhone 10 series and they'll be all right. 2024, they'll have a generally good experience with that smartphone. So yeah. Anyways, the iPhone versus Android debate doesn't make sense. Hopefully, this video was, I don't know, somewhat entertaining to you. If you watched the video, but until the next video, we are out. Peace.